Hi, I'm Patricia Wagner Dodson, and I'm here in the beautiful chapel of Maine Hospital at VCU Health, and I'm reading a section from the book Gilead by Marilyn Robinson. And I chose this because it examines the nature of love and faith and really addresses the whole issue of what our legacy is. Um, the novel is written from the perspective of a dying Congregationalist minister who is writing his memoir for his son, who is 7 years old. And this is from the very end of the book. It has seemed to me sometimes as though the Lord breathes on this poor gray ember of creation, and it turns to radiance for a moment or a year or the span of a life. And then it sinks back into itself again, and to look at it, no one would know it had anything to do with fire or light. That is what I said in the Pentecost sermon. I have reflected on that sermon, and there is some truth in it. But the Lord is more constant and far more extravagant than it seems to imply. Wherever you turn your eyes, the world can shine like transfiguration. You don't have to bring a thing to it except a little willingness to see. Only who could have the courage to see it? I'll just ask your mother to have those old sermons of mine burned. The deacons could arrange it. There are enough to make a good fire. I'm thinking here of hot dogs and marshmallows, something to celebrate the first snow. Of course, she can set by any of them as she might want to keep, but I don't want her to waste much effort on them. They mattered or they didn't, and that's the end of it. There are two occasions when the sacred beauty of creation becomes dazzlingly apparent, and they occur together. One is when we feel our mortal insufficiency to the world, and the other is when we feel the world's mortal insufficiency to us. Augustine would say the Lord loves each of us as he loves an only child, and that has to be true. He will wipe the tears from all faces. It takes nothing from the loveliness of the verse to say that is exactly what will be required. Theologians talk about a prevenient grace that precedes grace itself and allows us to accept it. I think there must also be a prevenient courage that allows us to be brave. That is, to acknowledge that there is more beauty than our eyes can bear, that precious things have been put into our hands, and to do nothing to honor them is to do great harm. And therefore this courage allows us, as the old men said, to make ourselves useful. It allows us to be generous, which is another way of saying exactly the same thing. But that is the pulpit speaking. What have I to leave you but the ruins of old courage and the lore of old gallantry and hope? Well, as I have said, it is all in ember now, and the good Lord will surely someday breathe it into flame again. I love the prairie. So often have I seen the dawn come and the light flood over the land and everything turn radiant at once. That word good, so profoundly affirmed in my soul that I am amazed I should be allowed to witness such a thing. There may have been a more wonderful first moment when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. But for all I know to the contrary, they still do sing and shout, and they certainly might well. Here on the prairie, there is nothing to distract attention from the evening and the morning, nothing on the horizon to abbreviate or to delay. Mountains would seem an impertinence from that point of view. To me, it is rather Christ-like to be as unadorned as this place is, as little regarded. I can't help imagining that you will leave sooner or later, and it's fine if you have done that or if you mean to do it. This whole town does look like whatever hope becomes after it begins to weary a little, then weary a little more. But hope deferred is still hope. I love this town. I think sometimes of going into the ground here as a last wild gesture of love. I too will smolder away the time until the great and general incandescence. I'll pray that you grow up a brave man in a brave country. I will pray you find a way to be useful. I'll pray and then I'll sleep. If you like what you've heard, all 100 books are available at your local Richmond Public Library. If you want to be a reader or find out where the next reading is, visit rvalibrary.org-100 days. Richmond, let's read.